The kingdom of Israel attained its zenith under David and his son Solomon, but in the reign of the latter, the unity of the nation came under strain. The foolishness of Rehoboam, Solomon's son, in refusing to alleviate the heavy tax burden, occasioned a permanent division in the nation. The northern 10 tribes rebelled. This division of 10 tribes was known as Israel, while the remaining tribes formed the division of Judah in the south. The extent of alienation between the rival groups of tribes is graphically portrayed in the significant words of the men of Israel. And when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, What portions have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed unto their tents. Thus they not only rejected Rehoboam's rule, but they disavowed God's covenant, which was vested in the throne of the house of David. From then on, the now divided kingdom declined. Though in Judah, there were periods of prosperity under a number of faithful kings, Israel was foremost in forsaking the God of their fathers. Idolatry set in with their first king, Jeroboam, and they never recovered from the sickness. Eventually they were carried into exile by the Assyrians late in the 8th century BC. While Judah was slower to corrupt her faith, the time came when she also gave herself over to idolatry, so much so that she became worse than Israel had been. By this time the Assyrians had lost their position of dominance in the world to the Babylonians. At the end of the 7th century BC, armies from Babylon began to carry away captive the people of Judah. During the years which led up to the final dissolution of the kingdom of Judah, a lone voice amidst the degeneracy was that of Jeremiah, a man whose words and character have been misrepresented to this day. His uncompromising denunciation of widespread corruption was construed as antisocial, and his warnings of impending destruction went unheeded. Eventually, as Jeremiah had predicted, the Babylonian armies wrought God's judgments upon an incorrigible generation. For his unpopular message he was accused of treachery, yet a careful reading of his prophecy and his lamentations reveals a man who was deeply committed to the well-being of his people and who grieved at their destruction. Although Jeremiah's reputation is that of a harsh, doleful accuser, some of his words are among the most tender in the Bible, and some of his prophecies rank with the most comforting. Reminiscent of the well-known grandeur of Isaiah's words concerning the ultimate restoration of his beloved nation, he wrote, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man and with the seed of beasts, and it shall come to pass that like as I have watched over them, to pluck up and to break down and to overthrow and to destroy and to afflict, so will I watch over them, to build and to plant, saith the Lord. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith the Lord. But this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law in their inward parts, and in their heart will I write it, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord. For they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and their sin will I remember no more. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for light by day, and the ordinances of the moon, and of the stars for a light by night, which stirreth up the sea, that the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. If these ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus saith the Lord, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, then will I also cast off all the seed of Israel, for all that they have done, saith the Lord. And in chapter 33 verses 15 to 21, the permanence of the celestial ordinances is again given as a guarantee of God's ultimate purpose with Israel. In those days, and at that time, will I cause a branch of righteousness to grow up unto David, and he shall execute judgment, and righteousness in the land. In those days shall Judah be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell safely. And this is the name whereby she shall be called, the Lord is our righteousness. For thus saith the Lord, David shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel, neither shall the priests, the Levites, want a man before me to offer burnt offerings, and to burn oblations, and to do sacrifice continually. And the word of the Lord came unto Jeremiah, saying, Thus saith the Lord, if ye can break my covenant of the day, and my covenant of the night, so that there should not be day and night in their season, then may also my covenant be broken with David my servant, that he should not have a son, to reign upon his throne, and with the Levites the priests, my ministers. These words of eventual national salvation, prophesied at a time when Israel appeared to have come to its end, were calculated to instill hope into the hearts of that very small remnant of Jews who had not capitulated to the general decline of the nation. Their utterance at this time of apostasy and retribution underscored the unchangeable character of the God of Israel and of his promises covenanted to Abraham and David. But to the majority, the Babylonian captivity marked the end of the Jewish kingdom. The beautiful temple had been destroyed, the Davidic throne overturned, Jerusalem lay in ashes, and to outward appearances God seemed to have forgotten his purpose with Israel. Dejected remnants of Abraham's seed were led in chains to Babel, in the land of Shinar, the seat of idolatry, the place of their forefathers' origin. For the few believers in the divine covenants, the days were dark indeed. The kingdom of men now had dominion over the kingdom of the God of Israel. Yet, for the small remnant who had clung to God's word, there was no cause for despair. Had not the words of God to David anticipated the scattering of Israel before the final glory? But for the bulk of the Jewish nation taken captive to Babylon, the calamities which they had suffered at the hands of their enemies became the turning point of their history. In foreign lands they clung to the scriptures they had previously despised. Only then began to sink home the exhortations to separateness, which Moses and the prophets had delivered. But now they were exiled, strangers and pilgrims, despised and oppressed. Psalm 137 is beautifully revealing of their grief on account of the land of their fathers. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yea, we wept, when we remembered Zion. Upon the willows in the midst thereof, we hanged up our harps. For there they that led us captive required of us songs. And they that wasted us required of us songs. And they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. Let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. Exile for the Jews would eventually accomplish what constant appeals by the earlier prophets failed to do, that is, create a spirit of contempt and hatred for foreign religious and political interference, and a bringing back of the love of God's law. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to get notifications of new videos. Like, share and comment below.